If you're looking for an audience that is going to require low ad investment but gives high return on ad spend, I've got something for you. Hey everyone, Sean here from Byrne Media. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about a strategy that we've used for clients, certainly in the past, when it is a good fit. Okay, so this is all about leveraging audiences that they have, existing audiences that they have, and actually using those audiences to target with ads to essentially sell more product. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to my screen now and share with you a diagram and talk to you about the process so you can learn from it and even implement it into your own business. All right, guys, so here is the diagram. This is what I call the high ROI Facebook audience strategy. This is all to do with dealing with influencers who have existing audiences and leveraging those audiences to basically acquire more customers. But the great thing about these particular audiences is that you're leveraging the trust and authority that the actual influencer has, and then you can build, you can retarget those audiences, but then you can also build out lookalike audiences as well. So now, essentially, we partner up with influencers who have existing audiences. You send their audiences to content or your product page. Now, we work with the likes of food and beverage brands. We also work with the likes of skincare, beauty, cosmetics, and also apparel, fashion. All those kind of categories can be, if you want to call for it a better term, saturated. Lots of good brands doing great things, but the market's quite noisy. And in some cases, you might need to do more nurturing, more education, more value propositions, that kind of thing as well, in order to earn trust, in order to earn influence, in order to get people to purchase. So you may not necessarily move them to a product page. You actually might move them to a, let's say, if it's a skincare product that you sell, you might send them to an article that lists, I'd say, the benefits of your product and what its desired outcomes, what's achievable with that. Okay, so you're educating people and you're giving people reasons to actually make a purchase, rather than just say landing on a product page, which can demonstrate that type of content too, but it's more of a just slightly higher up the funnel, and it's more kind of awareness, kind of education, product aware kind of situation. What you do then afterwards then is retarget audiences that go deeper into your sales funnel. So they may land on the content page or the product page, but you also want to then retarget people who have shown intent, added to the cart, for example. They're in the checkout, they haven't purchased, even post purchase audience as well. So this is very much a kind of, it doesn't cost a whole lot of money to build these audiences in terms of retargeting, but also lookalike audience as well. That's why I say it's a low investment, but it does a high return on the money that you make back, because again, you're leveraging in the first place good influencers who have authority, who have trust, credibility in their space, and you're leveraging off those audiences, and then you're building retargeting and lookalike audiences off that. Now, what I will say, in order to make this strategy most effective, you do need to be using like a third-party data tracking software, something like Hyros, for example, or Triple Whale, which basically will, it will help you track different segments. So basically, people who land on the product page or the content page, but then people who actually land on the cart pages and that kind of thing. You need to be able to sort of segment them. Facebook doesn't do a good enough job of this anymore. That is ever since the iOS update, the tracking has been very, very wonky. So you do need to use third-party tracking software. So the objective is to build out lookalike audiences, retargeting audiences, people who are already sort of active in the industry, say beauty, for example, and are showing intent. So they're looking at content, they're engaging with content, they're on email lists, they're clicking on, they're opening up emails, they're clicking on links from the influencer, for example. They're actively engaged, they're consuming content on social media, that kind of thing. So you got to think of influencers and sort of remarketing lists. Okay, so I'll just go over the steps here. There's 4 of them in total here, right? So essentially, you want to be finding influencers on the likes of, and depending whether you're, again, beauty, cosmetics, fashion apparel, food and beverage, wherever you're, whatever the type of influencers or your audience is sort of hanging out, you want to be sort of going to those social medias. YouTube, Instagram is definitely a solid one. Twitter, email lists, even TikTok as well. Email lists are the best, in my opinion, because those audiences that are in an email list have actively opted in for something. So they've seen something that they wanted to opt into. It could have been a free resource or whatever it is. They actively subscribed to that email list, and then the engaged people of those email lists, they're actually opening up the email, they're clicking on links, they're being influenced. They trust their influencer source, so they're highly engaged. That's why I think they're the best audiences. So these audiences, as I said, they're subscribed and consuming content from the trusted influencers here. So the step 2 over here is basically to pay these influencers to promote your product. Should correct your product to their audience, send their audiences to a content page that shares the benefits and desired outcomes of your product. Okay, so you're warming up these audiences. So let's say you've got thousands of people here from an influencer, and you pay them to promote your product to their email list, to their social media. There is going to be a certain percentage of those people, that audience, that actually will pay heed. And if the influencer does a good job of actually warming up the audience, they are going to be much more in favor to actually purchase the product based on that. That's why it's important to get good influencers here to leverage off the audience. Step 3 then basically is to, that traffic that's sent to your landing page via these influencers can be now used to remarket as an audience for your own ads. So the influencer puts out a story or puts out an email list and says, hey, check out these this brand, the skincare brand. It's got X, Y, and Z benefits. I'm using it myself. Here's the results I've gotten after X amount of weeks. Here's a link to the page. Go and check that out. So they go, a certain percentage of those people, that audience, will actually land on that page. Now, with the pixel, you can now retarget those people who've landed on the page and then show up on different parts of social media with different sort of ad formats that will help to, again, further entice people to actually make a purchase from your product. Okay, you can see how powerful this is. So where was I? These audiences they've already got positive association, just like I said before, from the influencer. So there's good word coming from the influencer, and you're earning trust at a quicker rate because of these influencers. So you can actually now build out lookalike audiences as well from tier 1 traffic platforms and the likes of Google and Facebook and that kind of thing. So step 4 then is to target people who have different forms of intent. So this is basically where the third-party tracking software comes into play quite handily, because what you've done is you've acquired attention positively from these influencers. They've sent traffic to your website, to your article page, educating their audience on your product or the product page itself. But now you want to be making sure that you can actually track people who are moving further down the funnel and actually, to the point where they're converting. So if they land on a content page, that's somewhat warm. If they're landing on a product page, that's warmer again. If they've added to cart, that segment of audience that the third-party tracking software will track and have for you, obviously are clearly showing intent that they want to make a purchase, that kind of thing. So you want to be using targeting those audiences with different type of messaging in order to bump up the conversion and get more sales. But like I said, they're showing more intent with your brand, interacting more with pages and higher levels of engagement with you. Okay. So as I said earlier on in the video, the bigger and the noisier the industry, which is all the ones that we kind of more or less do, there's some great brands out there, but there's a lot of noise out there as well. You really have to sort of do a lot more rapport building. And you do that kind of as you meet them in different parts of the funnel, but middle of funnel, cold kind of awareness, education, founder content. There's various different sort of formats and angles that you can use in order to nurture and keep nurturing until you are seen as one of the go-to solutions for the desired outcome that they're looking for. So you can start creating 1% lookalike audiences and start driving up traffic to that with cold direct response ads. And then as you scale from 1%, you can push that up to 2% and 3% and that kind of thing as well. So that is essentially the strategy. If you just take a look here now, obviously pause this video if you need to digest it a bit further. But this is essentially a really good strategy that you can use if you already have a list of influencers that you're working with that have great audiences. They don't have to be huge; they just have to be very engaged. I mean, obviously, the bigger and the more engaged they are, the better. But don't just kind of discard the smaller guys because the smaller influencers definitely they may have lower numbers, but a lot of the time they have really good engagement on those numbers. So you can't really discard them. But if you have a number of these guys that you're working with already, you might want to try this with your Facebook pixel or their tier 1 traffic pixels. And just when they're sending traffic to your content pages or your product page, you're building retargeting audiences that you can use to retarget then, of course, but also build out lookalike audiences as well. And the whole game is that you're already leveraging the trust of these influencers, and they're more likely to convert at a quicker rate rather than sort of cold. So that's it. Low investment, high yield. Hope that was helpful. If you need a hand with your customer acquisition on the likes of Facebook, Google, Meta, Instagram, that kind of thing, by all means, do get in touch and we can have a conversation, see what we can do. All right. So the next video, I shall see you guys later. Take care.